Hello, I'm Jesus. Today we have Mr. Heller, our guidance counselor, and today he's here to answer a few questions about child abuse. First question for you: have you dealt with cases of child abuse
Well, first of all,
before?
thank you for having me here today. Appreciate this time to speak with you guys. Have I dealt with information of child abuse?
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I have unfortunately had to work with students who have been abused.
Okay. Okay. Uh, and then how has abuse affected these kids mentally or emotionally?
So, any kind of abuse does affect a student mentally and emotionally. It doesn't always manifest itself the same way with every student. Sometimes it affects their academics. Sometimes it affects their academics in other ways. Maybe they're not sleeping well. Maybe they're not able to relate to other people well. So it affects the whole person.
Okay. What are some causes of child abuse from what you've seen? Like,
Causes of child abuse. Lots of different kinds of child abuse. There's the physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. So a lot of the causes, a lot of it are people within the family that are abusing children, and that's sometimes the saddest part.
yeah. Okay. What has child abuse led to in cases you've seen?
What has child abuse led to? Um, it's led to long-term difficulty of that student. Again, not only academically, and obviously in the school we focus on the academics, and that's important. But as guidance counselors, a lot of times we're more interested in the overall development of the person and how they can adapt socially and still be a productive member of their community. And unfortunately, that also takes an impact on the student if they've been abused. That sometimes they have a hard time becoming a productive member of their community.
Okay. Uh, what does happen to victims when they come out and tell their stories?
So, as a guidance counselor, if I have a victim come tell me that they've been abused, then there are certain protocols that I have to follow legally and ethically as a guidance counselor. I have to contact the proper authorities. A lot of times, I have to contact the parents, and it's always in an effort to help that student. I know sometimes students, when they tell me these things, they don't necessarily want all that information out or want problems to happen in their family, but it's always for the student's betterment when we have to bring in other people.
Okay. What happens to their abuses when they are accused, like their parents, or?
Okay. Right. Well, again, it's not always their parents, but the person that does abuse a child and then the report is made. As guidance counselors and as school personnel, we don't investigate that. We report the incident and report the concern to the proper authorities, Department of Child Services, Fort Wayne Police Department, and they're the ones who investigate what's going on. Oftentimes, we as counselors and school personnel don't know the outcomes of these investigations. But again, that's not our role, and our role is just to hear the student out, be a resource for that student, pass on the information to the proper authorities, and they handle the investigation.
Okay. Um, is it of abuse or neglect?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Of abuse or neglect, like that they were accused?
Both. Yeah, neglect is a form of abuse, so sometimes that is reported.
Okay. There's an opinion question for you.
Okay.
We know it's hard for victims to come out and tell their story. Each year we have Aaron's Law to tell us about child abuse. What do you think schools could do to help their victims of child abuse come out and tell their story?
Uh, the only reason a student will come forward and tell that they've been abused is if they feel safe in doing so. So the number one thing that school staff and counselors can do is to build relationships with those students. Let those students know that when they have to share information that is personal and private and scary at times, that the adult hearing them is somebody that cares for them, that will not judge them, that will know that it's not their fault that they've been the victim of the abuse, and that the information that they share with the adult will be handled confidentially and professionally.
Okay. Well, thanks, Mr. Heller, for coming out and answering these questions.
Thank you for having me.